You wake up. There's a heaviness in your stomach that wasn't there a decade ago. A slow, foggy sluggishness that lingers through your morning coffee, no matter how well you ate the day before. You shrug it off. Just getting older, right? I need you to stop right there, because that exact feeling, that sluggish gut you've been quietly dismissing for years, is the single clearest signal your body has that your stem cells are aging faster than they should be. By the time you notice the bloating, the fog, the afternoon fatigue, nearly 40% of the signaling that keeps your stem cells young is already compromised. Almost no doctor will sit you down and tell you this, but a Mount Sinai study published just weeks ago, in May 2026, changed everything we know about why. I'm Dr. Richard James. After more than 3 decades of clinic work with patients over 60, I can tell you this sluggish gut is almost never just digestive. It's a systemic signal. And what's at stake is not just how your stomach feels. It's how fast every regenerating tissue in your body is aging, from your skin to your immune system to your brain. After 60, your gut microbiome has lost, on average, about 30 to 40% of its bacterial diversity compared to what you had at 30. That's not a number anyone reads back to you at your annual checkup, but it's the number that quietly drives everything else. What I see confirmed in my clinic every single week is this. The patients who have ignored the gut signal the longest are the ones whose biological age tests come back the furthest ahead of their birthday. If you've been told this is just normal aging, you've been told something incomplete. It's not your fault, and it's not too late. Here's what almost nobody explains. Your gut talks to your stem cells, every meal, every hour, through hundreds of signaling molecules. And when the gut goes quiet, the stem cells go quiet with it. The truth that the Mount Sinai team published in May 2026 is this. Your gut isn't just digesting food. After 60, it is the central control room for how fast your stem cells age. What they discovered changes everything about which symptoms you should never ignore again. So let's decode that sluggish feeling first, because once you understand what it actually is, you'll never dismiss it the same way again. The sluggish feeling isn't in your head. It's a specific cascade. Your gut bacteria are producing less butyrate. Butyrate is the short-chain fatty acid that feeds the cells lining your intestinal wall. When butyrate drops, those cells weaken. The wall gets leakier, and inflammatory signals start crossing into your bloodstream that should never be there. This is the part most doctors don't take the time to explain. To feel sluggish in your gut after 60 is to be running a low-grade systemic inflammation, 24 hours a day, that your standard blood tests are not designed to catch. Think about that for a second. You can feel something is wrong every morning. Your labs come back fine. And the gap between those two facts is exactly the gap that's quietly aging you. Here's the question I want you to sit with. If you've been told your labs are fine but you still feel this way, who's actually wrong? Take a patient profile I see all the time. Picture a 72-year-old retired bookkeeper. Let's call her Irene. 2 adult sons in another state, widowed for 4 years. She walks every morning. She eats what her doctor told her to eat. And yet every afternoon around 3 o'clock, the fog rolls in. Her stomach feels heavy. She doesn't want to admit it to her sons because she doesn't want to worry them. She represents thousands of patients I've sat across from, and her story is the same story. What's happening inside Irene's body, and inside yours if this sounds familiar, is not weakness. It's not poor willpower. It's a measurable, biological cascade that has been quietly building for years. The lining of your intestine is one of the fastest renewing tissues in your entire body. Under normal conditions, it replaces itself roughly every 4 to 5 days. But that renewal depends on stem cells in your gut wall receiving the right chemical signals from the bacteria living right next to them. When the bacterial population thins, when diversity drops, when butyrate output falls, those renewal signals weaken. The lining gets thinner, the barrier gets leakier, and that low-grade inflammation I just described starts to spread. There is one more piece to this that doesn't get talked about. The cells of your gut wall also produce mucin, a protective gel layer that separates your bacteria from your bloodstream. When the stem cell signal weakens, mucin production slows. The protective layer thins, and the bacteria that should never touch your bloodstream get just a little closer to it, day by day. That is the part most patients have no idea is happening inside them right now. Now you know what the sluggish gut signal actually is. But here's where it gets really interesting. What the gut is doing when it sends that signal is the part the Mount Sinai team just rewrote the textbook on. The Mount Sinai team did something nobody else had done at this scale. They mapped exactly which gut-derived molecules talk to the stem cells that replace your intestinal lining, your immune cells, and, by extension, every fast-renewing tissue in your body. What they found is that a handful of specific signals do almost all of the work. When those signals are present, your stem cells divide cleanly. They renew the tissue. They stay young. When the signals fade, which is exactly what happens when the gut goes quiet after 60, the stem cells slow down. Their renewal becomes error-prone. The tissue ages faster than your calendar age. This is not a wellness blog opinion. This is peer-reviewed science published just weeks ago in the journal Cell Stem Cell. And it's the missing piece that explains why two people the same age can be biologically decades apart. So, what does it actually mean for a stem cell to age faster? Imagine a copy machine. Every time it makes a copy, the next one is supposed to be exactly as crisp as the original. That's how a young stem cell works. It divides. The daughter cells are clean copies. The tissue stays fresh. Now imagine that same copy machine running low on toner. The copies get fainter. Streaks show up. Small errors creep in. Some pages come out blank. That's what happens when your gut-derived signals fade. Your stem cells don't stop working. They just stop working well. And the tissue they're supposed to keep young starts to drift in the wrong direction. The Mount Sinai team identified butyrate, specific bile acid derivatives, and a newly described microbiome-conditioned signaling molecule that, together, account for the bulk of this renewal signal. When those three are abundant, stem cell function holds up. When they fade, it falters. Here's the contrast I want you to hold in your head. Your doctor measures cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure, maybe a vitamin level. None of those tell you what your gut is signaling to your stem cells. None of them. The entire conversation that actually drives how fast you're aging is happening below the radar of standard medicine. There is one other detail from the Mount Sinai work that I want to make sure lands with you. The same gut-derived signals don't only act on the intestinal lining. They crosstalk with the immune stem cells in your bone marrow, the ones that make every new infection-fighting cell you have. So when the gut goes quiet, your immune renewal slows down too. That is why so many seniors get sicker and recover slower in their 70s and 80s. It is not just age, it is the gut, going quiet, pulling the immune system along with it. Now this next one is the one that keeps me up at night. Because once you understand how fast this clock is actually moving and how much of it is reversible, you'll never look at your morning routine the same way again. Here is the part I want you to remember if you remember nothing else from this video. Stem cell aging, at least the gut-driven portion of it, is not a one-way door. The same axis that's been quietly aging your tissues is the axis you can feed differently, starting tonight. The early data suggests that within 2 to 4 weeks of restoring the right gut-derived signals, markers of stem cell renewal begin shifting in the favorable direction. Within 3 to 6 months, biological age markers measurably move. This is not a guarantee, but it is a window that almost nobody is being told is open. And here is the part that frustrates me the most as a doctor. The intervention is not a drug. It's not expensive. It's a specific set of foods and timing patterns that any senior can implement. Most doctors are not yet telling their patients about it because the science only landed a few weeks ago. By the time it filters into routine practice, years will have passed. You don't have years to wait. Think about what that means. A 70-year-old woman who starts feeding the right signals to her gut this month could, by the end of the year, be biologically younger than she is today. That's not a slogan. That's what the trajectory of the data is pointing toward. We are talking about a measurable bend in the curve. I want to be straight with you. The full clinical picture is still being mapped. Some of what I'm about to tell you in the protocol is well-established senior nutrition science. Some of it is the leading edge of where the evidence is heading. I'll tell you which is which, so you can make an informed choice instead of a blind one. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, and you're right to question this. Stay with me, because the next part is exactly the objections I hear in my clinic every week, and the answers the research gives back. The first thing I hear is this: "I've taken probiotics for years and nothing changed." I hear that constantly. The answer is in the science. The bacteria packed into most over-the-counter capsules are almost never the bacteria that produce the rejuvenation signals. And even when they are, they rarely reach the colon in the density needed to do anything. The bacteria that do the real work are the ones already living in your colon. They wake up when you feed them right. A pill cannot replace a kitchen. The second thing I hear is, "I'm too old for this to make a difference." I want to address that head-on. The Mount Sinai work was done in older biological systems. The window doesn't close at any specific birthday in the data. It tracks with the presence or absence of the signaling substrates. The biology doesn't care about your driver's license. It cares about what's in your colon by the end of this week, and that you control. The third thing patients ask me is whether they've already done too much damage to come back from. I understand the worry. Years of processed food, courses of antibiotics, stress, a quiet kitchen after a partner passed. The honest answer is that the gut is forgiving in a way most organs aren't. Your microbes are replaced quickly. The signal can come back online almost as fast as you can change what you feed them. So here is exactly what I want you to do, starting tonight. This is the protocol I would give to my own mother. I'm going to walk you through it in 4 specific steps. Each step is small. Together, they change the conversation your gut is having with your stem cells. Step 1. 2 fermented foods every single day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. I'd start with a half cup of unsweetened kefir or live culture yogurt at breakfast. Then a small portion, about 2 tablespoons, of a fermented vegetable at your last meal. Sauerkraut, kimchi, or a spoonful of miso stirred into soup. The point is variety and consistency, not quantity. Step 2. A fiber diversity floor of at least 30 different plant foods per week. Not 30 servings, 30 different plants. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds. Even herbs and spices count. The diversity is what feeds a diverse microbiome. And resistant starch sources, things like cooled cooked potatoes, oats, green bananas, and properly cooked beans, are especially important because they drive the butyrate production we just talked about. Step 3. A daily polyphenol source. This is the part most seniors overlook. A small handful of berries, 2 or 3 squares of dark chocolate above 70%, a cup of green tea or oolong tea. These are not luxuries. They are the substrates your microbes convert into the bile acid derivatives the Mount Sinai team identified. 1 cup of tea or 1 handful of berries a day. That's the bar. Step 4. A simple timing window rule. Give your gut microbiome a 12 to 13 hour overnight rest. If you finish dinner at 7 in the evening, don't eat again until 7 or 8 the next morning. No late night snacking, no midnight glass of milk. That overnight window is when the repair and signaling restoration cycles actually complete. It costs nothing. It asks for no new food. It just asks you to leave the kitchen alone after dinner. One safety note before you start. If you're on a blood thinner like warfarin, talk to your doctor before adding daily kimchi or sauerkraut, because fermented vegetables can be high in vitamin K and can interact with your medication. If you have a sensitive gut, ramp up fiber slowly over 2 to 3 weeks. Comfort first, compliance second. Both matter. Within the first 2 to 3 weeks, the first thing you should notice is that the sluggish feeling, the one we opened this video with, starts to lift. The afternoon fog gets thinner. Mornings feel a little lighter. That's not coincidence. That's the gut to stem cell signal switching back on. By 3 months, the deeper markers begin to move. By 6 months, if you stay consistent, the biological age dial actually starts to turn the right way. Slowly, quietly. The way real aging changes always happen. Your gut has been trying to tell you something for years. The sluggishness you've been dismissing wasn't just aging, it was the signal. And now you know exactly what it means, and exactly what to do about it. I'm Dr. Richard James. If this video helped you understand something nobody had explained to you before, subscribe. Because next week, I'm covering the one breakfast ingredient that's quietly canceling out everything I just told you about. Almost everyone over 60 eats it. You don't want to miss it. And if there's someone in your life, a parent, a partner, a friend you walk with every morning, who's been brushing off the same sluggish gut feeling, share this video with them. You might never know it, but you could be the reason they start this week, not next year. Your gut is not just a digestive organ. After 60, it is the central command for how fast you age. Now you know, and now you can act. Take care of yourself tonight. I'm rooting for you.